The sun was generous that Monday. Lagos State University shimmered with the restless energy of another week. Students hurried across the courtyard. Laughter tangled with the honking of shuttle buses. In that bright chaos walked Ava Williams, her bag heavy with law books, her mind heavier with expectations. Across the courtyard, Ethan Cole adjusted the straps of his worn backpack. His sneakers were old, his dreams brand new. He had come from nothing, and yet he carried himself like someone who had already glimpsed the future. When their eyes met, just for a moment, the world slowed. Neither spoke, but something began. Later that day, Ava's phone slipped from her hand, crashing softly onto the concrete. Ethan bent to pick it up. Their fingers brushed. "Thank you," she said, her voice light as air. He nodded, too shy to answer. But as she walked away, he realized he had forgotten to breathe. A week later, they met again in the library, the quiet place where ambition met exhaustion. She sat beside him, uninvited but welcome. They exchanged notes, shared jokes, discovered how easily conversation bloomed when the right two souls met. What began as borrowed pens became borrowed time. Under the mango tree behind the library, Ethan said softly, "You make the noise fade." Ava smiled, the kind of smile that writes its own promise. "Then maybe we'll face the world together," she whispered. The breeze carried their laughter away, leaving behind the sweet scent of beginning. Their love grew in corners unseen, whispered calls, stolen glances after lectures. Ava's friend suspected. Her parents must never know. "He's from a poor background," her mother would say. But hearts rarely listened to hierarchy. Every secret meeting stitched them closer. One evening, beneath the amber lights of the campus park, Ethan spoke of his dream, a tech company that would change lives. Ava listened, eyes shining. "You'll build it," she said, "and I'll be there to see it happen." In that moment, love and ambition shook hands. Weeks passed. Deadlines, projects, sleepless nights. Ethan missed their date again. When he arrived hours later, breathless with apologies, she only said, "You don't have to prove anything to me, Ethan." But he did. To her, to himself, to the world that once told him he would never matter. The first crack had formed, invisible but growing. Ava's father discovered a photo of them together. The storm was swift. "You will not throw away your future for a boy with nothing," he thundered. She tried to speak, but the walls of tradition closed in. That night, she cried quietly, her tears mixing with the sound of Lagos rain. Pride and pain forged a new hunger in him. He would prove her father wrong. He worked longer hours, slept less, coded until dawn. Messages from Ava blinked unanswered. Love waited at the door, while ambition chained itself to the desk. Days became weeks. Ava watched him from afar. The boy who once held her hand now held only his laptop. Silence replaced laughter. Distance replaced touch. Two souls still in love, now standing on opposite ends of the same dream. Morning sunlight spilled through Ethan's narrow window, catching the glow of his laptop screen. His eyes widened as he read the email again. Accepted into the Tech Vision Accelerator program, London. His hands trembled. For years he had chased this moment, and now it was finally his. He wanted to call Ava first, but the silence between them felt too wide. His heart whispered her name, but ambition spoke louder. When they finally met, the air between them was heavy. "You're changing, Ethan," Ava said quietly. "You barely look at me anymore." He forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I'm just working on our future." She looked away. "You're working on yours." Neither realized that sometimes love isn't destroyed by anger, but by neglect. The campus cafe smelled of roasted coffee and memories. They sat across from each other, words failing them both. Ava reached for her cup, but her hand shook. "I don't want to hold you back," she whispered. "You're not," he said, though even he didn't believe it. When she stood to leave, he didn't stop her. That was the quiet moment when love began to die. Not with a fight, but with acceptance. Months passed. Ethan's face appeared in magazines. His name was spoken in rooms that once felt unreachable. He wore tailored suits now, flew across countries, gave speeches about vision and resilience. Cameras captured his success, but not the emptiness behind his eyes. In every crowd, he looked for her face and never found it. One Saturday morning, while returning to campus for an alumni event, Ethan saw her. Ava was walking beside another man, laughter spilling freely like sunlight. For a moment, the world blurred. He wanted to be happy for her. He truly did, but all he felt was the echo of everything he'd lost. Success had come, but it had taken her with it. That night, as rain lashed against his apartment windows, his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered with a tired voice. "Mr. Cole," the voice said. "This is St. Mary's Hospital. There's been an accident." The phone slipped from his hand before the sentence ended. The sound of thunder filled the room as if the heavens themselves had broken. The hallways smelled of disinfectant and grief. Machines beeped softly beside Ava's pale face. Ethan stood frozen at the door. When her eyes fluttered open, she smiled faintly. "You made it," she whispered. His tears fell freely now, unstoppable, years of pride dissolving in seconds. He took her hand and pressed it to his lips. "I should have fought for us," he said. "I thought success would fix everything." Ava blinked slowly, a tear tracing down her cheek. "You just forgot what you were fighting for." The machines hummed softly, a lullaby for the end of something beautiful. Ethan's world slowed. Her hand went limp in his. The monitor screamed, but his mind heard nothing. The room fell silent except for the echo of her last breath. He stood there, the boy who wanted everything, now left with nothing. The sky was gray as they lowered her into the earth. Ava's parents stood like statues, broken by what they could not control. Ethan's knees buckled. The ground felt too heavy to stand upon. The woman who had once promised to see his dream come true was gone, and now every success felt meaningless. The days after the funeral were a blur. Ethan sat in his apartment, surrounded by awards and framed headlines, all reminders of victories that now tasted like ash. He scrolled through old messages, voice notes, and photos. In every smile, he found another piece of himself that had died with her. The world outside kept moving, but it had stopped. He remembered the first time she had said, "Don't chase the world, build your own." He had laughed then, young and certain. Now, that memory felt like a prophecy he had ignored. The echo of her laughter haunted every quiet corner of his mind, every dream, every morning he woke up alone. One evening, at a conference filled with lights and applause, he froze mid-speech. The crowd stared as his voice cracked and words failed. He saw her face in the reflection of his glass trophy, smiling, fading. He left the stage without finishing. In the silence backstage, he whispered to himself, "I made it, Ava, but I lost the reason I started." Weeks later, he visited her old apartment to return a book she had lent him, The Alchemist. Inside the cover, in her handwriting, were the words, "Sometimes the treasure is not at the end of the journey, but beside you while you walk." He sat on the floor, clutching the book to his chest, weeping until dawn. Ethan disappeared from the public eye. No interviews. No appearances. He sold his company shares and used the money to start a foundation in her name, the Ava Hope Initiative, dedicated to helping young dreamers who couldn't afford to chase theirs. For the first time, his ambition served something beyond himself. Every Sunday, he visited her grave. He never brought flowers. She had always preferred wild ones. He would sit, sometimes for hours, talking as if she could still hear him. "I finally understand," he'd whisper. "Love and ambition weren't enemies. I just forgot they were supposed to walk together." One evening, while leaving the cemetery, he saw a little girl try to launch a paper airplane. She looked frustrated. Ethan smiled, knelt beside her, and showed her how to fold the wings properly. When she finally launched it, it flew high and free. "See," he said softly, "sometimes you just need to get the balance right." The girl giggled, and for a fleeting moment, he felt Ava's warmth again. Years passed. Ethan's hair turned silver. His name faded from headlines. But the foundation grew, touching lives, inspiring others. One evening, he stood on the balcony of his small cottage, watching the sun dip behind the hills. The light danced across the clouds like gold spilling into the sea. He smiled. "We did it, Ava," he murmured. "We finally made something that lasts." That night, He dreamed of her. She stood in the same field where they had once talked about forever. She smiled, radiant, untouched by time. "You found your way," she said. "I only followed your light," he whispered. They held each other, and for the first time in years, peace found him. At his funeral, children from the Ava Hope Initiative stood in white, each holding a paper airplane. As the priest finished his words, they released them into the wind, hundreds of wings gliding upward. In the crowd, someone whispered, "That's how love flies, when ambition finally learns to carry it." If this story touched your heart, take a moment to breathe and share it with someone who believes in love, even when it hurts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Tell us, have you ever had to choose between love and ambition?